UFC Vegas 36, aka UFC Fight Night, Brunson versus Till. Welcome to another UFC prediction and analysis video by yours truly here at Boxingmmapicks. He goes by the name of Zan, I go by the name of Harris, and as usual, we're giving you our views and perspectives from a Vegas perspective, fight by fight breakdown, fight by fight analysis, letting you know which fights are worth the money, which fights you want to stay away from, perhaps which underdog has the best shot at winning. And if you stick around to the end of the video, you may even get a little bit of parlay action as well. As usual, we are going to ask that you subscribe to the channel, press the thumbs up on this video, hit the notification bell, and participate in the comments. We definitely appreciate that. Now, this is a UFC Vegas 36. It's an interesting card. There's only 10 scheduled fights, and this is a daytime event. So really making sure that we let the bettors know. Make sure that you get your bets in a little earlier than you anticipate, as again, this one has a 1:30 p.m. Eastern time start, as opposed to typically, say, a 7 p.m. Eastern time start. But nonetheless, we have 10 fights, 5 on the prelim, 5 on the main card. And in our usual fashion, we are going to start with the prelims. Let's take a look at fight number 1, Jonathan Martinez taking on Marcelo Rojo. I will start by breaking this one down. Jonathan Martinez lost to Davey Grant back in March. Looked a little bit off to me in that fight. Southpaw, good striker, good overall fighter. We know he has good sound boxing. He has good movement, really good kicks too. I would say his stand-up is a little bit more kick heavy, at least at times. You know, really good calf kick. He'll definitely mix up the kicks as well. But like I said, pretty complete striker and pretty dynamic striker as well. I do like his pressure. I think he's pretty patient. It's constant. It's active. It's good. You know, his overall pressure. And I mean, although he didn't look the best in that Davey Grant fight, he did look really good in that Thomas Almeida fight, right? So let's see if he can bring that level of performance back and get it back into the win column. We see his record there sitting at 13-4. Marcelo Rojo, on the other hand, you know, he lost to Charles Jourdain. That was back in March as well. That fight was at 145 pounds, so keep that in mind. You know, whereas, you know, this fight is more of his natural weight class, which is bantamweight, of course, 135-pound division. Pretty good striker, pretty dynamic striker in his own right. And he has shown me some explosiveness. I do have to respect his power. Out of his 16 wins, 8 of them are via KO, TKO, and 14 finishes overall, right? So definitely have to respect his finishing pedigree. And I mean, again, to that point, he's shown me that one punch power, you know, in the octagon in previous fights. Pretty good striking match from what I see here to start off this UFC event. I think Martinez offers a little bit more on the feet, and I really think Martinez is going to be looking to bounce back from that loss to Davey Grant. When I compare him to Rojo, I just see somebody that is maybe a little bit more dynamic, maybe a little bit quicker as well. And of course, if he can avoid the big shot, I think this is Jonathan Martinez's match to win. So Jonathan Martinez will be my pick to start up this card.
Good breakdown. When I see these two competitors, I have one question with Jonathan Martinez. The question is, I think that was his first time getting knocked out in his last fight. He was a favorite to win, and yeah, he got finished. I think that's the first time he's been knocked out. So we're not sure how he's going to bounce back from that knockout. On the Marcelo Rojo side, we know he came from Combate, and it's a lot of high level MMA over there. If you're coming up the ranks, you're going to be fighting tough guys in a lot of your fights. And in this fight, the question is, can Rojo get this to the mat, where that I think is his best chance? I think Martinez needs to avoid the brawl, because Rojo is going to want to make it dirty. He's going to want to make it a brawl. If he wants to keep it standing, he has to make it a brawl. He has to make it dirty, grapple a bit. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Martinez, his precision, his timing on the striking, I think that's going to be a big thing in this fight. If he can avoid a brawl, Martinez should get this done. Even if he gets taken down, he has good get-ups. So, yeah, this is a fight that I think that his timing, his precise striking should help him here. So yeah, Martinez is my pick as well.
Sounds good. And minus 170, not too bad on the odds there. So I'm going to be paying close attention to that one. That is a fight that I am interested in potentially betting in. Why don't we move on to fight number 2? In that case, we have Dalcha Lungiambula taking on Marc-André Barriault. When I looked at this fight, I mean, Lungiambula, we know that he beat Marcus Perez back in January. We know that he has, or at least in my opinion, he showed some improved stand-up in that fight. Pretty patient striker, almost a hesitant striker that almost works to his works against him, I should say. He does have a judo background, and that's something that we definitely want to keep in mind. Not a wrestling background, but he will show some explosive wrestling, some explosive takedowns. Obviously, we know with the judo background that works in his favor to be able to put himself in those situations. So look for him to do that at least early on in the fight. He is also going to try to clinch you against the cage, use that physical strength. Of course, we see his physique there. He's definitely going to be the, especially being the shorter fighter, we know he's going to be the thicker, more physical fighter of these two. He will burst and kind of throw his all into a combination when he does attack on the feet. And that's sort of his primary source of offense is going for those burst attacks. And sometimes they're effective, sometimes a shot catches you. And, you know, the biggest issue with Dalcha Lungiambula is his cardio. Of course, with that physique that he has, he is going to tire out a lot quicker. He's somebody that is a little bit more of an early fight threat as opposed to being a threat throughout the entire fight. When I look at Marc-André Barriault, I mean, he beat Abu Azaitar. That was back in March. Pretty good jab. I think he covers up well. You know, looks for counter-punching opportunities, mixes in that calf kick pretty well as well. Puts the pressure on. He likes to come forward. Decent striker. Definitely can put the strikes together with the combinations and has some pop. Has a decent uppercut in up close as well. You can definitely tell he's somebody that has worked on his hands a little bit more than anything else. I don't think he has the best takedown defense, so that's definitely going to work against him. He struggles against fighters that have a ground game, a little bit one-dimensional to that respect. But he does have some clinch and again, to the point of the hands, some dirty boxing against the cage as well. You know, Barriault striking, it looked pretty clean in his last fight, again, versus Abu Azaitar. Go ahead and watch that fight to see what I'm referencing. And Barriault offers, in my opinion, a little bit more consistency on the feet. I think Dalcha is going to land the takedowns, of course, early in the fight. As I mentioned, he is a pretty early fight threat just in general. And I think he's going to look pretty good early in the fight. You know, if you watch Barriault versus Abu Azaitar, Azaitar in some ways looked pretty good early as well. But Barriault stayed composed. He stayed consistent. You know, Azaitar started to slow down as the fight went on, and Azaitar started to slow down. Barriault started to take over and eventually get the finish. I don't necessarily see the exact same thing happening here, but I can see a very similar thing where perhaps maybe the first round, maybe even the first 7 minutes of the fight, Dalcha could be winning this one. And then as time goes on, Marc-André Barriault potentially steals that second round, potentially wins that third round as well. This is going to be a close one. I'm definitely not interested in betting on this one, but my pick will be for Marc-André Barriault.
Yeah, this is a tough fight, man. Honestly, when I look at Dalcha, the big concern I have with him is his cardio. In his last fight, he was able to go the 3 rounds with Marcus Perez, but I believe that's because of the pace of the fight. Marcus Perez, it was a slow pace fight. Dalcha really didn't have to exert. He was kind of in control. He wasn't really pressed or at any point, in my opinion. So I think fighting Barriault, he's going to put on a lot more pressure. He's going to hold you against the cage. He's going to have you working. And I agree, Dalcha is likely going to win the first round. But I think as the fight goes on, I think that the cardio is going to be a big thing. And Barriault can go 3 rounds. He doesn't have the best cardio, but he throws enough. And he's there at the end of the fight. And he can keep up a pace that if he breaks Dalcha, which I think is going to happen midway through the second round, if he doesn't get caught from anything from Dalcha, because Dalcha is very powerful. One shot can knock anybody out. He's very big. He's very athletic. But I think in the second round, 2 minutes and a half in the second round, I see the fight turning, and I see the cardio of Barriault just taking over. and the third round. You might even get a finish here. But I'm going to go with Barriault. It's a tough fight. I wouldn't put any money on this fight. It's a hard fight to really cap here, but I got to go with Barriault's toughness. He's never been knocked out. He has the cardio, and I just see him here taking over as the fight goes on. So Marc-André Barriault's my pick.
Sounds good to me. Let's move on to fight number 3. In that case, we have Julian Erosa taking on Charles Jourdain. How do you feel about this one?
Julian Erosa, he's a sneaky guy here. He's the type of guy that he's won fights that he was a big underdog in. So he can definitely win this fight. But I'm going to go with Charles Jourdain. I'll make it quick. I just think that a lot of this fight's going to be striking, and I think Jourdain has the better striking. He's the faster striker, more precise, and he's trying to finish you. So I'm going to go with my boy here, Charles Jourdain here, to get this done.
Yeah, to your point, I definitely think this fight will stay on the feet. I do expect it to stay in the stand-up. I do think that it could be a high-action fight. And I mean, to your point, I like Jourdain a little bit more. I think he's the better striker. I think he thrives against these guys that like to come forward and engage, like we saw in his fight versus Marcelo Rojo. He likes those style of fights, and I can see Julian Erosa giving him that style of fight. And the big thing that I noticed with Julian Erosa, I mean, first of all, you look at his record, 25-10. You definitely have to respect the 25 wins, but whenever I see a fighter with double-digit losses, that tells me that they're kind of okay with losing, or they put themselves in situations where they lose. And in my opinion, the reason for that for Julian Erosa is that he gets hit, right? I think his striking defense is not the best. If you watch Julian Erosa's fight versus Sung Woo Choi, you get a really good idea of that. I'm not saying Charles Jourdain is Sung Woo Choi, of course, but I think Jourdain has that similar pop, at least from a power perspective, that Sung Woo Choi has. And Sung Woo Choi used that to take Julian Erosa out. So, I mean, I can see Charles Jourdain potentially getting the finish here. If he doesn't get the finish, I can see him having the better striking for at least 2 rounds. So Charles Jourdain will be my pick as well at -190. Moving on to fight number 4, we have Jack Shore, undefeated fighter, taking on Liudvik Sholinian. How do you feel about this one?
I'll make this really fast. I'm going Jack Shore here to get this done, get this to the mat. But I think Liudvik is a tough competitor here that they're bringing in. He was on the Ultimate Fighter. He looked really good there. I don't know here, but I really like Jack Shore to utilize his grappling here. I don't think Liudvik can handle the grappling that Jack Shore has, and I see a unanimous decision here, winning 3 rounds straight on the Jack Shore side. I know the odds are going to be heavy on Jack Shore, but again, he's making big improvements in his striking, and this guy has good wrestling, good takedowns, and I see that being the path here that he's going to utilize. He's undefeated for a reason, so Liudvik looked good on the show. He looked really good. But I think Jack Shore is too high up of a step here. So, yeah, Jack Shore is my pick, unanimous decision.
And to your point with the odds, Tapology a little behind on their number. They show -230. On ESPN, a little bit more accurate, -470. So Jack Shore is a very big favorite in this fight. We know that he beat Hunter Azure. That was back in April. Again, we know he's an undefeated fighter, 14-0. 12 of those wins are finishes, 4 of them via KO, TKO, 8 of them via submission. Has that relentless wrestling style, to your point. So, he'll hold onto the body lock, he'll chain wrestle, he'll look to land that rear naked choke. 7 of his wins are via rear naked choke, so he'll definitely look for that. And again, the stand-up is improving, right? Pretty decent overall. The jab is good in and out movement, decent low kick as well. So definitely knows how to use his stand-up. To your point with Liudvik Sholinian, he did compete, of course, this past season on the Ultimate Fighter. He lost to Ricky Tercios, who, of course, won last week to become the Ultimate Fighter champion or winner, I should say. Pretty patient on the feet, good jab, decent straight, throws 1 punch at a time, in my opinion. So it's going to work against him, especially against an improving striker like Jack Shore. Good takedown entries, definitely has some wrestling, but I think about that Ultimate Fighter performance against Ricky Turcios. He let Ricky Turcios control the clinch on the cage at times. He had moments where he landed the takedown, but he couldn't keep Ricky Turcios down at all. So, to that point, I see someone like Jack Shore as being a more dominant ground threat. And I see him putting Sholinian in bad situations. So, I feel pretty good picking Jack Shore here. Obviously, we know he's a huge favorite for a reason. But just to provide a little bit more context as to why I'm picking him, I do agree that this one should be unanimous as well. Let's move on then to our final fight of our prelims. We have Molly McCann taking on Ji-Young Kim. For this fight, Ji-Young Kim, she last fought a year ago, August 2020. She lost to Alexa Grasso. Completely a stand-up fighter. I mean, you look at her numbers, there are 0 takedowns in 6 UFC fights. She's definitely going to keep it on the feet. She's a boxer, ultimately. She is introduced as having a boxing and jiu-jitsu background, however. And I think she does show some remnants of her ability to grapple when needed, but ultimately think about her as almost strictly a boxer. Pretty composed on the feet. She's light on her feet, good in and out movement. I think she does have some decent striking IQ in terms of her choice of punches. Bit more of a technician as opposed to a brawler. Definitely willing to engage if needed, though. And again, like I said, mostly hands, more of a boxer than anything else. Don't really expect, a lot of kicks, don't really expect takedown attempts, et cetera, et cetera. For Molly McCann, she lost to Lara Procopio. That was back in February. She's on a 2-fight losing streak now. We see her record there sitting at 10-4. That could play a factor in this fight. I mean, fighters that are on 2-fight losing streaks, they seem to kind of put some extra effort into it, and they can sometimes pull fights out that you don't necessarily expect them to win. Obviously, this is a fight that pretty much is 50-50 from an odds perspective. So they are giving her that respect. McCann's game ultimately is dependent on her ability to take it to the ground. I don't think she has an overwhelming takedown ability, though, in my opinion. I think the numbers support that. 1.64 takedowns per fight, 30% accuracy at that. She does have serviceable stand-up. She'll switch stance. Her overhand hook has some pop on it for sure. Likes to move around the ring, likes to fight from distance. She'll sit down on her punches when needed, but it is easy to outstrike her, especially for someone like Ji-Young Kim to outstrike her. I almost want to sum up Molly McCann almost as a brawler at this point. She's always in a fight that kind of looks 50-50. She's always in a fight where she's looking to engage. She's looking to make it tough. She's looking to make it, nasty in there. And it's really going to have to see if Ji-Young Kim can handle that type of fight, because we know that, again, she's a little bit more of a technician. Ji-Young Kim, she does have some weaknesses, in my opinion. She doesn't really have a change of pace, doesn't really have a sense of urgency, pretty one-dimensional on the feet. Suspect takedown defense, in my opinion. On paper, it's at 43%. So definitely holds to her game. But that said, I think Kim will have the significant physical advantages, 3 inches in height, 10 inches in reach. And I think she's definitely going to use that to her advantage. We saw what Lara Procopio was able to do versus Molly McCann with longer reach in terms of her performance on the feet. Ultimately, I say all of that to say this. I am picking Ji-Young Kim. Being a boxer, not really using kicks, I think that's actually going to work to her advantage. I think she is going to be a little bit more protected from those takedowns that I don't think are amazing on the side of Molly McCann anyway. And I think as this stays on the feet, Ji-Young Kim has the potential to pick her apart. So close fight. I think McCann does have a legitimate path to victory here, but Ji-Young Kim is ultimately going to be my pick.
Yeah, this is another one of those fights, really hard fight to cap here. Ji-Young Kim, 5'7", against Molly McCann, 5'4". McCann's on a 2-fight losing streak. As you indicated, Ji-Young Kim is likely the better technical striker. I think she's the better striker at distance, and I'm not sure that she can handle pressure. And Molly McCann, like that's kind of how she fights. She does brawl. She brawls a lot. But when she brawls, she brings in pressure. She gets in close, and she brawls away. And as you indicated, she does have the wrestling advantage, in my opinion. But Yeon Kim is supposed to have some grappling accolades, but I haven't really seen much of it in her fights. Now, how I see this fight going is I'm going to go Molly McCann. I think that on a 2-fight losing streak, you're getting a much easier opponent. I think the fighters that Molly McCann lost to, there's no shame in losing to Laura Procopio or Talia Santos. To me, Yeon Kim is a bit slow, man. She's a bit robotic, and yeah, she can definitely keep a steady pace with that jab and fighting from a distance. But I think Molly McCann should be able to squeeze 2 rounds. This should go decision, but I'm going to go Molly McCann here to win a 29-28 type of fight here with her aggression, with getting in close, fighting against the cage, getting some takedowns. I just think she's going to be the physically stronger person when they clinch up, and I think that's going to help her get the takedowns here. So Molly McCann is my pick here for this one.
Not too mad at that. Definitely, as you mentioned, back-to-back losses, back against the ropes. She has the paths to beat Yeon Kim, with the pressure, with the wrestling. So definitely not mad at that at all. And I think maybe ultimately the best bet within this one is for this fight to go the distance. I can definitely see that happening as well. Speaking of Vegas, let's kind of take it to Vegas for our prelim card. Let's take a look at both underdogs as well as potential parlays that we are considering. So first, I'll start with an underdog pick. Who are you considering on this prelim?
Okay, so I don't have the odds in front of me. Who are the underdogs?
So the underdogs are Dalcha, Lungiambula, Liudvik, Sholinian. Molly McCann is technically considered an underdog at plus 100. We have Marcelo Rojo as well as Julian Erosa.
Okay, so Marc-André Barriault, he's a favorite?
Yep, minus 150.
Okay. So underdog wise, I'm gonna go Molly McCann here. I'm gonna roll with her for my underdog pick.
I'm not mad at that. Plus 100 again, so that's definitely a flip. And again, Molly McCann has paths to victory, so wouldn't be too surprised at that. My underdog potential pick would be Dalcha Lungiambula. I think I'm a little inspired by Al Hassan's performance last week, and I think Dalcha has that one-punch power and potentially could catch Marc-André Barriault. So plus 125. He's not my pick for the channel, but I do think he is the underdog that maybe has the most or the best opportunity to win on this prelim card. In terms of parlay picks, who are we taking a look at?
You can go first.
Yeah, definitely. So for parlays, I'm liking Jonathan Martinez at minus 160. And of course, big favorite, but I'm really liking Jack Shore. I might just keep it safe and look at those two on a parlay. That's basically a flip at minus 103. $100 will return 198. For our bigger bettors, 250 will return 496. 2 fights that I feel pretty good about.
Okay, I'm gonna echo that. Jonathan Martinez, Jack Shore, and I'm gonna roll with Charles Jourdain.
I like that. Yeah, Jourdain was definitely someone I was considering as well. So glad to see we're on the same page with that. That would be a 3-fighter at plus 204. $100 will return $304. And for our bigger bettors, $250 will return $761. So some pretty decent fights on the prelim, some pretty decent money-making opportunity. We are going to sign off on that note. As usual, subscribe to the channel. Press the thumbs up on this video, hit that notification bell so you know when we come up with our latest videos. And of course, participate in the comments. We definitely want to hear from you. Who are your underdog picks? How do you feel about our picks? And if there's a specific parlay or a specific pick that you are considering, definitely let that be known in the comments, and we will be more than happy to give you some additional insights on that. However, we are going to sign off. This has been our prelim prediction video for UFC Vegas 36, aka UFC Fight Night. Derek Brunson taking on Darren Till. And in the meantime, he goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. We are Boxing MMA Picks. Let's get this money.
Let's do it.